It's a good day to brew, baby. What is up, YouTube? It's your boy Millsy, back with Hometown Commander, and we are back with another episode of Millsy Brews, the show where I bring you my version 1.0 deck list of the Commander in front of me on my quest to outbrew your favorite Magic channel. Man, we are in week 4 of March of the Machine Brewing, and it's been a ton of fun. There are so many great commanders from this set. I think it's going to be genuinely hard for some people, some brewers like me, to like pick decks to actually build, to actually brew, to actually play, because there's so many great commanders. And interestingly, this week is starting to be a little bit of a mini Jeskai week. We're covering Zurgo and Ojutai today. Got a little bit of break in the middle, and then on Thursday we'll be doing the Convoke Precon. So it's kind of interesting that this week just worked out to be a little bit of a Jeskai week, but that's okay. Just guys, a fun color combination, and let's talk about it. Today's choice is Commander. I didn't expect to have as much fun with it as I did, but then once I really put the deck together, I realized, man, it is pretty fun. And it's Zurgo and Ojutai, 2 blue, red, white for a 4/4. Flying Haste, has hexproof results that enter the battlefield this turn, which is going to be super useful because I think we want to get Zurgo and Ojutai in right away for its bottom ability, which says whenever one or more dragons you control to accommodate damage to a player or battle, look at the top 3 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand and the rest on the bottom. You may return one of those dragons to its understand. Okay. So Zurgo and Ojutai, I think we take the most advantage of Zurgo and Ojutai is this bottom ability, right? Whenever one or more dragons you control to accommodate damage to a player or battle, look at the top 3 cards of your library. So in a normal combat with no battles on the battlefield, we could get 3 of these triggers, 1 for each player that we're attacking. Now, if we have a battle down, which we're only playing 1, we could also get a 4th trigger on that combat. But I think really what we're trying to do is get as many of these triggers as we can, get in, get damage in. I mean, dragons are good at a couple things, but one of them is just being big creatures, right? So I think it's going to be pretty darn easy to get in there and get good damage with to our opponents. Now, I think the other fun part about this is I think and anybody can comment on the comments if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Double Strike will actually go ahead and give us double the triggers as well. So we have a couple dragons that have Double Strike, so that'll actually help as well. Now we don't have a Tarka, which would be the best, right, to give all of our dragons Double Strike. But we do have a dragon that gives all of our dragons Double Strike. It's just going to be a little bit harder to find, so that is there too. Mana Base, just trying to take advantage of stuff like the pathways seem kind of fun in a deck like this. Temple of the Dragon Queen can help us fix our colors, and of course we're playing in Jeskai, so we get a lot of the fun blue-red lands and the red-white lands. The only downside to this color combination is Jeskai is probably second or third in my mind at some of just the most expensive dual lands. So just be a little bit careful when you're building a deck like this, that some of these dual lands can get a little bit pricey, especially those blue-red ones, and some of the, mostly the blue-red ones. So be careful. Of course, if anything, you can take all of these out and throw a bunch of basics in and go that route if you want to. Get up into the enchantments. So I think a lot of the idea of this deck looks very similar to something like Miram in one of its win cons, but we're going to do it completely differently. I think this Dragon Tempest, Warstorm Surge, Scourge of Valkas is still probably one of the easiest ways to win the game, because once we get a critical mass of dragons out and we put them down, we deal the damage, and then we swing in and attack, and we can finish the game that way. So Dragon Tempest says whenever a dragon enters the battlefield under your control, it deals X damage to target creature or player, where X is the number of dragons you control. So we put a dragon down, deal the damage, and then hopefully it's hasty and can get in. And then Warstorm Surges, whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, it deals damage equal to its power to any target. Now we can use something like Sneak Attack, or we can just play them naturally, dump a bunch of them in, and get the damage that way. I had very much considered a card like Cryptic Gateway, which has become very popular in Miram for tapping dragons to play other dragons. And that would be great if we were just trying to combo them into the battlefield. Like if the only goal is to get them down, I think Cryptic Gateway would be a good choice. But in a deck like this where we still need to attack, I feel like Cryptic Gateway isn't going to do exactly what we want it to do, and we don't get that free token. You know, Miram, you get this free token every time the dragon comes in. Well, then it's easy to tap the one you put in the dragon to put a new one down. So it's not as conducive to the game plan, so I didn't really throw it in here. Kid Discovery going to help us draw through our deck as well, get our good things, same thing with 60. Molten Echoes is a card I love from my Miram list, and it fits so well here. Getting non-token. When a non-token creature of the chosen type comes in, you can make a token of it. It gains haste. Of course, the only downside to Molten Echoes, just like any token creation, is if a legendary creature comes in, you wouldn't get to keep the legendary copy, but it will definitely still trigger these before you have to sacrifice that. So Molten Echoes pairs very well with these and Scourge of Valkas that sits up in our creatures. Smothering Tide to help with the mana, and then Duelist Heritage to give a creature double strike, which again will double trigger Zurgo and Ojutai. So that's going to help us a ton when it comes to hitting in for damage. Artifacts, we're playing a lot of mana rocks. I think Urza's Incubator feels really good here. We don't have the extra ramp in green. We don't have some of the extra things we get in other dragon color combinations, so we need that reduction to just help us out. A lot of these dragons are expensive creatures, right? They're big, expensive creatures that have lots of power, but they are going to be harder to get down with how expensive they are, so I think Incubator is going to help. Arcane Signet, Dragon Sword, Felwar, Stone Soul Ring, and all our 3 talismans for mana. Curse Mirror is also a mana rock. But the cool part is when it comes in, you can become a copy of any creature on the battlefield. This can copy any of our dragons if we need to. This could copy something like Scourge of Valkas and potentially have us go off on a turn. This could copy a lot of things. So I like Curse Mirror. At the minimum, it's a mana rock. At the best part, on the right turn, this could copy a creature you really need and do a lot of really good things with it. Getting up into the spells, a couple of the deck lists that I kind of I pondered at, I used as some inspiration this week when I was looking at this deck because I happened to see a couple games on YouTube, right, where people were playing Zurgo and Ojutai. I saw a lot of blink spells, and I understand what the concept here of the blink spell is there, right? You can blink your whole board with Scourge of Valkas out and get those triggers. Like I completely get it. I wonder how often you're actually going to be able to get that situation set up. I'd almost rather focus on consistency for the spells and make sure you're consistently getting a good board out as opposed to working on that. So we are still playing something like Eerie Interlude because I still want that option there, but I think I chose to forego the blink for things like Clever Concealment, Flawless Maneuver, Boros Charm, ways to just straight protect our board, make sure that our dragons don't just get deleted off the face of the earth. Boros Charm and Flawless Maneuver are going to protect against destroy board wipes. Clever Concealment is going to protect against the exile board wipes and Psych Rift and things like that. And They Shall Know No Fear could do the same thing, giving all of our dragons indestructible. And 2 mana is a great price for it. Big score and unexpected windfall for some draw, and they're going to start setting up the treasures, which is a little sub-theme for most dragons these days anyway. Brainstorm for the draw, and Light Tutor for a little bit of search, Fierce Guardianship to protect the board. You can get rid of a pesky removal spell or a board wipe, a lot of things. Reality Shift for some removal, Swords for some removal, and again, Teferi's Protection for a little bit more protection. Blasphemous Act for a board wipe, Expressive Veneration for some early game kind of pick and draw and play. Farewell for some board wipe, Supreme Verdict for a board wipe, Jessica's Will for mana, and Arenicus, which can copy Zurgo, but it can just copy a lot of things. Blasphemous Act is an interesting board wipe, of course, very popular in red, dealing 13 damage to everything. It's great against decks that aren't playing a ton of indestructible creatures, but if you could pair this with effects that happen when you deal damage to things, this could be really fun. My favorite dragon combination with this is Wrathful Red Dragon, which is whenever a dragon you control is dealt damage, deals that much damage to any target that isn't a dragon. This plus Blasphemous Act will just put 13 times X, where X is the triggers, number of dragons you have, triggers on the stack for 13 damage, and you will potentially end the game right there on the spot by just ping people out. Now, we're not always going to see that, but I think it's a fun way to kind of get a little bit cheeky and potentially take our opponents by surprise. We'll get into the creatures wood second. Let's really go quick. So we're only playing one battle, and that's Invasion of Tarkir. So when it comes in, you can reveal dragons from your hand, any number of dragons from your hand. If you do, it deals X plus 2 damage to any target where X is the number of cards revealed this way. And on the backside, whenever a dragon you control attacks, it deals 2 damage to any target. So this is kind of like exactly what we want to do. The front side could get rid of a pesky blocker, but this is basically just going to give us some small damage and then get us the big damage on the backside. And then Sark and Fireblood seems really great. Again, we don't have a lot of that green ramp, so any mana we can get is great. Sark is great because that +1 gives us any combination of mana, but only to cast dragon spells, and that's great because some of our dragon spells have multiple pips, so they're fairly expensive. And then we can loot on the +1, and then eventually we can make 4 5/5s. The creature selection is in front of you. I'm about to go through it dragon by dragon. If you're not interested in that, the deck list is going to be down in the description. Let me know what you don't think down in the comments. And I hope that you enjoyed the deck list so far. But let's get into the dragons. And I just want to talk through kind of what benefits we get. Adult Gold Dragon is a card that I've just always wanted to put in a deck. It's not the most impressive dragon in the world. 4/3 for 5 with lifelink and flying and haste isn't like monumentally good, but I think already having haste is going to help us a ton in doing good things with it. And I love the art on the card. I love what the card represents. I love a lot of these AFR dragons. They're really cool. And I think it deserves a slot. Are there better dragons that are probably for the slot? Sure. I mean, there's always going to be new dragons coming out. Perfect example, something like Blast Furnace, Hellkite, that are just going to take over a slot from a dragon that's already there. But I think for now, it's pretty cool. We're playing all 3 of our ancient dragons. So the way the ancient dragon works are when it deals combat damage to a player, we roll a d20, and then we get that result of something. So for Copper Dragon, it's treasures. For Gold Dragon, it's 1/1 tokens, which is a potential combo with that Scourge of Vulcus, Dragon Tempest route, and then Silver Dragon, which draws us cards, and we have no maximum hand size for the rest of the game. All of these dragons are pretty cool. They do really cool things. I think in this deck, Ancient Gold Dragon could be even better than the other two if you have this, Scourge of Valkus damage set up, because if you make 15 on that roll, you're dealing a ton of damage to the board, so I really like it. These guys, of course, all get better when you add something like Double Strike. Blast Furnace Hellkite says creatures attacking your opponents have Double Strike, so you could potentially make all of them better. Astro Dragon is a combo enabler in itself. This is the perfect thing to copy a Dragon Tempest, or it says when it comes in, you get 2 tokens that are copies of non-creature permanent, except they're 3/3 dragons in addition to their other types. So this is a kind of a combo starter / finisher in a deck like Miram, where you have access to token doublers or more token doublers, because you would just make more and more copies of the thing you're copying. But I think here you get that Dragon Tempest, you get that Warstorm Surge, and then you go off on having so many copies of those things that are going to deal damage, and you finish off your opponent. Atsushi, it's just a decent blocker, a decent attacker, but if not, and get us treasures that look off the top. Displacer Kitten, not a dragon, the only non-dragon in the deck, but it's here to kind of help bounce some of these important things, whether it's things that do something when they enter the battlefield, or just to kind of help us along with this Warstorm Surge, Dragon Tempest plan. If we have one of them, we can start blinking things and dealing damage. Dragon Lord Ojutai is very similar to our commander, but only on itself. It says when it deals combat damage to a player, look at the top 3, put 1 in the hand and the rest at the bottom, and it has hexproof as long as it's untapped. Of course, now that we're in Jeskai, we could play the 2 Ojutais and some of the white dragons, and I think this is just an example of a white dragon that we love playing. I think Dragon Lord Ojutai would be like probably near perfect in Miram. It would be so good being able to get that loot off the top. We get access to that here. Dragontheth is just a monster, dealing 4 damage to any target and 3 damage up to 2 other targets when it attacks. This is just going to lay down damage. Or it's a 7 power, dragon that's going to be hard to deal with in the air. Furkrag seems kind of fun for a deck like that. Just trying to goad up our opponents a little bit. I feel like this could be fun. It says whenever 1 or more dragons you control attack an opponent, go target creature that player controls, which means we could potentially goad a creature for everyone in one combat. We're already trying to do that anyway, right? We're already trying to attack in and deal damage to everybody to get that loot, get that look off the top, and then Furkrag can get better, bigger the more those good creatures attack, and get pushed through. Gaedax going to get us a dragon. It get us a treasure whenever a dragon comes in, or it comes in. That's great. Going to help us cast more dragons. Same thing with Gold Spam. Whenever it attacks, becomes the target of a spell, we get a treasure. And then treasures can give us 2 mana instead of 1. That's great. That's going to help us a ton. Guardian Scalelord, a new card from the precons this time around. Whenever it comes in with backup 1, so the way backup works is when it comes in, you can give that counter to another creature or itself. When you give it to another creature, it gets this ability to fund a turn. Whenever this creature attacks, return target non-land permanent card with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, where X is its power. Put this on the biggest dragon we have, anything we want back from our graveyard. I like to do that, and then every turn after that, Guardian Scalelord will just have that effect and get that back. Lathless is going to make us dragon tokens. This is pretty great because with this ideal way to end the game, we play a dragon, it triggers, we get a token, it triggers. So I like Lathless for that reason. Lozen, Dragon's Legacy. Whenever we cast an adventure or spell or dragon spell, we don't have any adventure spells, so it's just going to be dragons. It deals that much damage equal to that spell's mana value to any target that isn't a commander. Well, this is great cast a dragon, get that damage trigger in, and then hopefully when it comes down, get that damage trigger as well. Ojutai, Soul of Winter, whenever it attacks, tap target whenever a dragon you control attacks, tap target non-land permanent opponent controls, that permanent doesn't untap during its opponent's next untap step. This is going to be great because the more dragons that have way out when this attacks, the more we're going to lock down. And if we lock down the right things, we could potentially just shove players down and take over the game. Scale Lord Record, or whenever a dragon you control becomes the target of a spell or ability and opponent controls, to target permanent, non-land permanent that player controls. This is pretty great, kind of like a karmic justice effect, but on target. This is pretty great because it's going to potentially help us just take out people's things in the process. People may not want to target a dragon because we're going to take something out they really want instead, and so that's going to become pretty helpful. Scourge of Vulcus. We talked about this. That dragon Tempest effect, dealing X damage to target creature or player where X is the number of dragons you control. And it's non-legendary, so we can copy it with things like Molten Echoes, or, it's a lot of fun things. But Scourge of Valkus is one of the better dragons in the deck for that. Scourge of the Throne is another great dragon, in that when it attacks for the first time, if it's attacking the player with the most life or tied for the most life, untap all attacking creatures after this phase. There's additional combat phase. So if we pick the right player, hopefully it's not us that has the highest life, we get another combat, and this could help us a ton. It's going to give us more Zurgo and Ojutai triggers. It's going to give us more damage in, and at the right time, Scourge of the Throne could potentially just end a game on the spot. Sudscorch Region, whenever an opponent casts a spell, you put a counter on it and gain a life. Well, the counter's just great. It's going to make it a better creature in combat, but the life's going to be helpful as well, getting the incremental life gain. Terror of the Peaks, another copy of kind of Warstorm Surge. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, Terror of the Peaks deals damage equal to that creature's power to any target. So just kind of another copy of Warstorm Surge, but this time it's on a creature. Thassa is going to help us blink things at the end step. This can do a lot of fun things. Could give us another one of these Warstorm Surge type triggers, or it can just provide us more value. Take a creature that's already attacked and blink it, and it comes back into untap, so it's ready to block. So Thassa seems pretty good. Uvara Hellkite, getting you a dragon every time a dragon you control attacks. Again, with something like Warstorm Surge, that's a bunch of more tokens that are going to hit the battlefield and deal damage to our opponents. Velomachus Lorehold, whenever it attacks, we can look at the top 7 and cast an instant or sorcery with mana value less than its power. Not a ton of things to cast, right? But could be fun to hit some removal or something. It's just a 5/5 body. It's probably the dragon in the deck I'm the least confident in because we're not playing a ton of these type of things that we'd really want, but it could definitely be good. And then Wrathful Red Dragon, we talked about already. In combat, it still uses ability. Blasphemous Act, it uses its ability. It's just a good dragon all around, and I think it produces a ton of value when you're dealing with combat with dragons, because the opponent has to decide whether they want to block or take the damage. But guys, that's Zurgo and Ojutai. I hope you guys enjoyed the deck list. Let me know what you think down in the description. Like if you enjoyed the deck, subscribe. If you want to catch more content, join me in my quest to outbrew your favorite Magic channel. This deck looks like a ton of fun. If I didn't have Miram already, this would be a deck I probably would start tinkering more with. But since I already have a dragon deck, I mean, as much as I love the idea of the Jeskai Dragon, set of dragons, I think there's some really fun dragons in here that I don't have the privilege of playing in Miram. I think I like Miram just a little bit better on what it's trying to do, and the addition of green instead of white. Just helps with all that ramp. It just gets you up there even quicker, and it's just more fun. I'm more partial to things like a Tarka and Old Gnawbone, these dragons that are a little bit different, but just do a little bit different things. And so I think I much prefer Miram over Zurgo and Ojutai. But if I didn't have a dragon deck, I think Zurgo and Ojutai would be a really fun place to start. I'm playing a lot of powerful dragons and a lot of powerful sports spells, but I think this deck would do pretty darn well by bringing in the Dragon Lord's servants of the world and coming down a little bit on the dragons and just playing for value and still doing this game plan. I think you'd still achieve the same result. It's just some of these better dragons are going to help us get there even quicker. But that's all I have for you guys, and I will catch you guys next time.